So now we're going to have, you're going to hear from Dr. Abdulbaset Abdullah, who was born and raised in Gaza. He traveled to the United States to do his college education at Ohio University. On campus, he first served as the president of the International Student Union and later as the president of the Muslim Students Association. Ohio University awarded him the Graduate Student Leader and Vice President for Student Affairs, Diversity Outreach, and Social Justice Awards for his campus and community activism. Abdulbaset currently works with a Princeton-based educational company and resides in the Princeton area. Other than his wife and children, all of Abdulbaset's family and relatives are still living in Gaza, and Abdulbaset is in constant communication with them. Please help me welcome him.
Thank you very much to you who asked me to come up here, but also to everybody who's here today. Looking at you and thinking that you are, to a great extent, particularly when you're compared to other people in other parts of the world, you are very privileged. You live in one of the nicest countries. You actually live in one of the finest cities in that country, and you go to one of the most prestigious universities in the world. You have everything in front of you, all types of activities and opportunities and so on. And someone who would think about that would say, yeah, well, why would they even need to be here for helping a campaign that might actually generate some hardship for them and difficulties and stress? But I know why you're here. I know you're here because you care about human rights, you care about human dignity, you care about others, and yes, while you have other things to achieve for yourselves, I know that you're here for a higher purpose, and for that I thank you. Now, why I was asked to come up here? I know why, because, you know, as it was just mentioned now, I'm a Palestinian. I grew up in Gaza, and I still have all of my family there. I'm talking about my brothers and sisters, and my mother, and my uncles, and aunts, and cousins, and anyone who knows the Palestinian culture, you could have 100 cousins easily. In fact, actually, my family lives in a whole town by themselves. So what happened this past August, just because we're a big family, 15 of my relatives were killed. And most of them were killed inside their homes. And I'm going to mention 3 of them. One, a young girl, her name was Nada, 1.5-year-old, and her mother. They both actually were killed in maybe the first or the second day of the airstrikes, inside their home at night. Second, my cousin Aisha, who was 70 years old, and it was in Ramadan, and she was praying inside her home, and also the home was hit with a missile and she was killed. And 3, my cousin Muhammad, who was a paramedic working for the Red Cross, and he was asked to go and save some people in a town called Khuza'a, which had its own massacre. And while both sides, the Red Cross and the Israeli authorities, knew that he was coming, and he was in the Red Cross ambulance, he was killed by a sniper. And it took them 2 hours just to retrieve him out of there. So to me, there is no question what is happening there is injustice. Complete injustice. Whether I'm a Palestinian or not, I cannot stand with it. And the fact that I'm an American citizen, that even puts a bigger burden on me, because I can do things. Before I became an American citizen, I used to tell my American friends, well, why are you doing that? Or why do you allow that to happen? Now I ask myself that question. You know, if I do not disassociate myself from those practices, at least make it clear that I cannot support such thing, and with anything I can do, I want to prevent it from happening, then I think I'm doing the wrong thing for me and for my community. So, just to add to that, the reason I was invited is because I have this Palestinian heritage. However, the reason I am here is because I am human first. And I care about human lives anywhere, everywhere. It does not matter to me who is the person who is being oppressed. And my friends can testify for that. Most of my activism actually is not for Palestine, even though Palestine is a very important part of it. Usually I talk about something else and I end up by reminding people of Palestine and what's happening in Palestine. Because again, I think that's the reason and that's the main purpose. You know, that's a very important thing that we should all be paying attention to and doing. Now, just to make this short, I'm going to finish with two things. One, a lesson from the Palestinians. And I am saying this for a reason. I'll clarify it later on. Palestinians do not give up hope. They have been going through all of these difficulties for many, many, many years. You know, for us here, we're just watching it from far away. And we actually know very little. We know some, but not as much as, of course, those people who are experiencing the difficulties and injustice. However, what is so amazing about them there is that no matter what happens, hope is still there. And I can tell you, every Palestinian I know, particularly the ones who live there, they know for sure that justice will be served at one point. They know that for sure. However, they do also know that the road to it is difficult. And it's not just like, you know, wishful thinking. It's going to happen and yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow. And whenever they meet an obstacle, they remind themselves of their goal. So I say this to all of you here who have been involved in this campaign. You know, yes, it's possible that the vote will not go through. But to me, victory has already been done. Has already been done because you have brought up this issue out for everybody to think about. You have brought it out to campus. And if it does not go through this time, when you bring it back in the future, it will be a much easier process, believe me. When I started working for Palestine, I started in 1988, and I was an undergrad at Ohio University. And I actually want to tell you that when we started, if we had ever done a rally or anything, a protest, you will come and you will see mainly foreign faces, Palestinians, some Arabs, a few Muslims, and maybe a couple of the local farmers who cared about, you know, human rights. This is how it was. And when we stood up to speak, we spoke with broken English. So sometimes people get turned off because they did not get the message. Now, however, now, 25 years later, or I don't know how many years later, things are different. I'm looking at you, and maybe, you know, one or two Palestinians are among you, but most of you are basically regular people from this country, or maybe some other place, again, who care about human rights. And that is a big change. Again, when our message was so limited, and if someone was like, these are crazy Palestinians or Arabs, whatever it is, but now you can say it's crazy everybody, right? So some people actually tell me, well, nothing has changed. Well, to me, things have changed. For Princeton to have this activity, this function, to actually bring this issue up in the open or out in the open is a big deal. I was telling my friends a couple of days ago, it is a big deal. And if this is the beginning for Princeton, that's fine. We'll wait. We'll give it another year or two, whatever, and we'll keep working. I hope you agree with me. And the last thing I want to say is that, and I may have just already kind of mentioned that, but when we care for others, we really should not wait, or when something happens, we should not wait for the group or the community or the minority of people who are being affected to stand and rise up for themselves. We should all pitch in, we should all take part into that, as long as we believe that the cause is just and we have a way to contribute to its success. And to our Jewish friends here, I thank you. I know it's not easy, but I want to remind everybody, I'm a Muslim. If I see Muslim extremism, I will stand against it. I will not stand with it. It does not matter to me, even honestly, if it's my own family that is doing the injustice, I will not take part in it. I will stand away from my family and I will advise them. And if they're not listening to me, I will stand with everybody else against them, because I love them. And if I love them, I do not want them to do injustice to others, and I want them to do their injustice, because doing so will in the end be good for them and for the others. So again, thank you very much.